Alright, so we're going to go over harnessing right now. And it's important to have a good quality harness that isn't going to break on you. I've been there. It's not fun. So just spend the money, get a good quality harness. You'll be thankful for it. So, and you also want to make sure that it's the proper size harness to fit your pony, or your horse, or your donkey, or whatever you're harnessing. So, we'll go over the parts a little bit. This piece right here is the saddle, and that's the part that goes over your horse's back, and this supports the weight of the cart. And the girth piece there, and that connects to the crupper that goes under the tail, and the breeching. The breeching acts as your braking system, so it's important to have a good breeching system. So, got my pony here, and I'll go ahead and throw the saddle part over his back. You want it sitting about where the pommel of a saddle would be sitting, right about at the base of his withers here, comfortably. And then I'll put the breeching over his rear, and I'll go ahead and reach under and do up the girth. And I've got to drop it down a little bit. You want to make sure that it is adjusted properly. So if you need to, if you use it on more than one horse or more than one pony, or even throughout the year, say like this guy, he gets a ton of hair in the wintertime but loses it all during the summer, he may need different size adjustments for his harness. So pay attention to that. And then we'll do up his harness here. Try not to get his hair in it. And you want to make sure your undercheck stays out of the way and is in good shape too. This is the piece here that'll go around the shafts of your cart or your buggy, and it'll keep it from swinging up in the air when you go to back up, or when you go to transition downward, or even when you're trotting. A lot of the times the shafts will start to bounce. These keep them in place so that they don't bounce up too high. So just make sure those are in good shape and out of the way for right now. Before you do any of this, you want to make sure your horse or your pony is very comfortable with you messing with their tail. Underneath their tail here is a very sensitive part, very sensitive skin. So you want to make sure that they're comfortable with that before you try and put a piece of leather underneath there. He's done this hundreds of times, so he's okay with it. But I highly recommend making sure that you have a desensitized horse or pony to this before you try and harness them. Good boy. Now, as far as your breeching goes, I told you that this is very important. This is your braking system. So when you're driving in your buggy or you're driving in your cart, you want to make sure that this is properly placed on your pony, so that it's not too high, but it's also not too low that it interferes with how his leg moves. Too high and he won't be able to use it properly. Your horse or your pony is going to use this strap to slow the buggy down, to slow the cart down. This is your braking system. He needs to be comfortable with putting a little bit of pressure and a little bit of weight on that to help him slow down the vehicle that you're in. So it needs to be somewhere in this area is ideal, right in the soft part of his rump. So that is actually a very good place for his. So I'll leave that there. The saddle's on there nice and snug, and we're ready for the next piece. Just make sure these aren't dragging on the ground. They will come into effect when you go to harness up. Next, we've got the traces and the breast piece. This is the piece that your pony or your horse actually uses to pull the buggy or the cart. So this is very important to have this be the right size and of good quality. I've added a pad to this one to make it more comfortable for him, because sometimes the leather can be a little abrasive when it's just this, and it can cause sores occasionally if you're using it a lot. So I've just added a pad to make it a little more comfortable for him. You can do the same thing here underneath the saddle. You can add a pad here if you want to. His is actually pretty soft, and it's got a squishy piece underneath there, so it's actually pretty comfortable for him already. So I will go ahead and slip it over his head. Put his halter back on. And with this piece, you want to make sure that your traces are long enough to give your cart a good enough space between his rear end and the single tree of the cart. So his attaches to the very last hole here, so that is a good foot or so of space. You want at least 8 inches. At least 8 inches. A foot is better. A foot and a half is good too. But you want to make sure that your cart is not following too closely behind your horse or pony for safety reasons. And also for mechanical reasons. It helps with the balance of your cart. If you want to zoom in up here a little bit to his chest, I'll move his mane out of the way here so that you can see his breast piece here is sitting above the point of his shoulder. He's very furry right now, but the point of his shoulder is right here. So you can see that it fits comfortably right above that. It doesn't fit right on it, and it doesn't fit too high that it's choking him. Remember, this is the piece that he's using to pull the weight of the buggy and the weight of his driver. So you want it in a very comfortable space. And right about there is where it's most comfortable for him. And this is a single harness. This is not made for pulling really heavy loads. This is not made for team driving. It doesn't have a collar. This harness is not set up to have a collar. So this breast piece here is what pulls the buggy and the driver. So you want to make sure that is in a comfortable space. Now, the bridle is pretty self-explanatory, very similar to any riding bridle you'll have. You'll have a bit that works well for your horse or your pony. This one is just a simple single joint half cheek snaffle. It's got a cavesson on it, the blinders or the blinkers, and then it's got a place where you can hook up an overcheck if you want to. I don't tend to use an overcheck much unless I'm showing, so this bridle doesn't have an overcheck on it right now. But if you've got a horse or a pony that has a bad tendency of putting their head down too low, you may need an overcheck. And then, of course, the good quality driving reins. You want a very good quality rein so that you don't get into trouble with one breaking or one being heavier than the other or them being too heavy or whatever. So always make sure your tack is in good condition. Go over, make sure it doesn't have any mold or extra dirt or anything on it, especially the blinders, because they are right next to his eyes. Make sure your bit is clean. Warm it up if you need to. Our stuff here is a little dusty from sitting in the barn, but all of it's in good shape. You can tell that there's no cracks. There's no pieces that are in danger of breaking. So we'll go ahead and put that on him, and then we'll go show you how to hitch up. Now Jasper's good at just standing there while I hitch up. In all of my training, horses and ponies, I always make sure that they're very good at stopping and standing quietly so that I can do this by myself. But if you've got a horse or a pony that tends to move around a little too much, I recommend getting somebody to help you with this process, or if you're doing this with a bigger horse, I recommend getting somebody's help to do it anyway. But Jasper's just going to stand here nice and quiet for me while I pick up the cart and I attach the shafts. And you want the cart to sit about level with the breast piece. Right about equal. This one's sitting a little bit high, but it's okay. It's not going to make that big of a difference. You don't need a fancy cart if you're going to drive. You don't need anything show quality or anything. Obviously, this thing has been through a lot and has been beat up pretty good, but as long as your vehicle is sound and safe, then it's all right. And as long as it fits your horse or your pony properly. So from there, got the shafts in, got it where I want it to sit. I'll go ahead and attach the traces to the single tree here. There we go. Get it on there. And I'll go to the other side and do the other one. This is Jasper's favorite part because he doesn't have to do any work yet. He knows that if he just stands there nice and quiet, I'll kind of ignore him. Just kidding, Jasper. Alright. And then from there, so I've got my traces hooked up. Now, for sure, you don't want your pony going anywhere because he is attached to the cart now. So I'll go ahead and hook up my braking system now. You want to make sure you have your braking system hooked up. It's very important. My very first attempt at driving was about 7 years ago with Jasper, and I didn't have my braking system hooked up. I didn't know any better. Didn't have anyone to tell me differently, so I didn't hook it up. And I went to go stop him. I was trotting, and I went to go slow him down, and the whole cart came and hit him right in the butt. Spooked him, and he took off. And I didn't try driving again for a few years because it freaked me out. But as you can see, we've gotten over that. But you use your experiences to help other people learn. Do the other side too. Make sure you do both sides. Alright, so that's not too tight. You see that if I pull the cart forward, how it pushes up on that breeching? That's why you want to make sure that it's in a safe and comfortable place for your pony. And also, I can pull it back, and this is how it would be if when he was pulling it. You can see that it's not nice and comfortable in his chest. So he's going to be able to pull this nice and comfortably. Shafts are sitting just an inch or two higher than ideal, but like I said, it'll be okay. It'll work for right now. And then what you want to do, because like I mentioned earlier, you want to make sure you attach your under check, or your cart's going to be able to fly up like this. And you don't want that when you're sitting on that back end, because it's like a teeter-totter and you end up on the ground. Also speaking from experience, but you know, you learn the hard way sometimes and you make an educational video so other people don't have to learn that way. So I go ahead and fasten my under check, which is also why I stress a good quality harness, because I learned the hard way a few times and I've been very lucky. No major accidents. but I figured I'd better invest in some good quality equipment because that good luck can't last forever, right? Got so much hair. All right, so now the cart cannot come flying up. So it's going to sit there nice and quiet on his back while we go for our drive. And this is the part where you actually have to go to work, bud. Sorry. Make sure everything's sitting nice. And then hop in and go for your drive.